Right now, I'm challenging myself to see if I can make 128 Regulation H teams that are each different from one another over the course of 128 days. Why 128, you might ask? At the end of the 128 days, we're going to do something special where we battle every team against each other in a single elimination bracket to see which team emerges on top. There will be some competitively strong teams, there will be some gimmick teams, and there will be some probably a good number of goofs and gaffs in there, so if you want to follow through to the end, subscribe so that you can keep up with each day. But without further ado, let's move on to day 84. Alright everybody, welcome back to another video, and in today's video we are going to be going over a Dodrio team. Now, Dodrio is one of very few Pokemon to have a really strange ability in Scarlet and Violet. It's ability that's given out to a lot of bird Pokemon, but we're missing Pokemon like Pidgeot and Shadot, and even Spinda has this ability, and it's an ability called Tangled Feet. And what Tangled Feet does is that it basically halves the accuracy of the moves that are being used against you as long as the Pokemon that has Tangled Feet is confused. So Dodrio wants to ideally stay confused for the entire game and hopefully not take any attacks, as the 50% chance to dodge a move that was previously 100% accurate is pretty big already, on top of moves that are maybe like 80% accurate becoming 40% accurate. It's just, you can put Dodrio in some nice places, but it is a really niche strategy. But this entire team is based around either confusion or having Pokemon being confused and kind of playing to your outs with the confusion. So starting off with the actual Dodrio here, we have Tangled Feet and we have Bright Powder in order to even further boost the chance of us dodging an attack on the Dodrio. And we want to dodge attacks on Dodrio because Dodrio is a super frail Pokemon, but it is super fast to kind of help make up for that. And we also have some good stab moves in the Thrash that we can go for in case we need to do a lot of normal type burst damage with our Dodrio, but at the end of the 2 to 3 turns we will also confuse ourselves in case we can't use one of our other confusion techniques on this team to get Dodrio confused. But we also have that good stab flying type damage, where it's kind of hard to get physical flying type damage in the format unless you are running the Brave Bird, which Dodrio thankfully is, and it's one of the faster flying types, so you can catch people off guard. And if we do ever manage to hit ourselves in confusion for that 33% chance that we do, we can go for the double damage Stomping Tantrum on the next turn to deal some massive ground type damage into the opponent, who's maybe like a steel type or a rock type that resist our stabs. Next up, we got Lilligant, and Lilligant has the move Teeter Dance, which will cause every Pokemon on the field other than Lilligant itself to become confused. So it's a pretty good move, theoretically, because it adds a lot of variance to the game. It's just that you confusing your own Pokemon does tend to be something that you don't really want to do, and of course you can just get rid of confusion by switching out with your Pokemon. But Teeter Dance Lilligant allows not only Dodrio to become confused, but it can also buy some turns of setup for itself, as if the opponent hits themselves in confusion, that gives us a free turn to perhaps go for the Quiver Dance in order to increase our special attack, special defense, and speed, and then hit it with our 2 moves in the Giga Drain to get back any health that we may have lost, but to also go for the normal Terra Blast when we are not terastallized, which can still do good damage, and then the Fire Terra Blast whenever we are terastallized. And it is worth noting here that because we're running Oricorio, we want to be using dance moves, so we do have Teeter Dance, which Oricorio will copy, but it doesn't benefit us to copy the Teeter Dance because it just means that Lilligant will be confused. But we can also go for the Quiver Dance in order to increase the special attack, special defense, and speed of our Oricorio. And we also have the opportunity to go for Pedal Dance with Lilligant, but I decided to go with Giga Drain so that we have more recovery. And we could also put the own tempo on Lilligant to make it so that Lilligant does not get confused by side Teeter Dances or any other Teeter Dances on this strategy, but I think Chlorophyll Lilligant is a little bit more better suited to this team. And overall, just the strategy as a whole, it's much better to have a fast Lilligant for trying to get off the Teeter Dance than an own tempo Lilligant that probably just gets outsped and then clicked a fire type move into while we have our sun up. And of course, we're also Covert Cloak on the Lilligant so that we are hopefully not catching any fake out flinches and that we're not getting speed drop by things like Icy Wind and Electro Web. Next up, we got Ninetales, and Ninetales is going to be our Sunsetter for mostly Lilligant on the team. Not that, I mean, everything on the team likes having its water type damage reduced, but not everything on the team likes having the increased fire type damage used against it. But Ninetales is going to be running a pretty simple set here where we have the Heat Wave and the Scorching Sands just to do stab damage and perhaps some super effective damage with Scorching Sands. And we are the Calm Mind set so that we can maybe increase our special attack and special defense over time. But I think there's better things that you could put on this Calm Mind Ninetales. It doesn't really need the Calm Mind. And we also have the Lumberry on Ninetales so that we can lead Lilligant and Ninetales if the opponent doesn't have weather, and then we can immediately Teeter Dance with Lilligant, and the Ninetales will eat the Lumberry so that we are not affected by the confusion from the Teeter Dance, and then we can either get set up or go for damage, and we're Terra Ghost on Ninetales so that we're hopefully dodging a fake out. Up next we have Oricorio Sensu, and I thought Oricorio Sensu made a lot of sense here because we are another ghost type, which means that we can't be faked out again, but we also have the Teeter Dance, which allows us to maybe lead Dodrio and Oricorio, and the nice thing about Dodrio being faster than Lilligant and Oricorio is the fact that we can attack with Dodrio first and then use Lilligant or Oricorio in order to Teeter Dance so that we get to confuse Dodrio, and then while Dodrio is confused, it doesn't have that chance of hitting itself in confusion because it attacked first. Oh, I think I'm getting confused. Hold on. Dodrio won't be confused whenever it attacks, but whenever other Pokemon attack Dodrio, Dodrio will be confused, so it has the chance to dodge the opponent's attacks. And the opponent will also be confused, so it may hit itself in confusion, which is another chance for a Pokemon to not hit Dodrio in confusion. Then we also just have our 2 stabs in the Revelation Dance and the Air Slash, and we are Terra Grass mostly so that we're not getting put to sleep on Oricorio, but we have to be careful whenever we're using the Terra Grass Revelation Dance because it won't be Ghost type anymore. Or Focus Sash on Oricorio just so hopefully we can take like one big attack into Oricorio, and then if Lilligant gets off the Quiver Dance and Oricorio protects or takes the attack, then Oricorio can start dishing out some mad damage on the Revelation Dance. Up next we have Tinkaton, and Tinkaton is here because it is an own tempo Pokemon, which does give us the benefit of being unable to be confused, so we can just go for the Teeter Dance with Lilligant or Oricorio with Tinkaton on the field, and only the opponent will get confused, so that means that they only have the variants, but we also have the option to go for Fake Out, Gigaton Hammer, Tinkaton's signature move to do a lot of Steel-type damage, Play Rough, and the Rock Slide to maybe catch off guard some Fire types with our Terra Water, and the Assault Vest will make us super special tanky. And lastly, I've decided to slot Annihilate onto this team, mostly because I wanted a fast Swagger user, because Swagger is a move that will increase the target's attack by 2, but also confuse it, so we can use this kind of riskily into the side Swagger into Dodrio in order to increase its attack and give it the evasion chance, or we could use the Swagger into Tinkaton in order to just increase its attack because it won't be getting affected by the confusion from the Swagger. But also on Annihilate, we have the other supporting tools in the Final Gambit in case we just need to get rid of one Pokemon with our super fast Choice Scarf Final Gambit move, and we have the Bulldoze on Annihilate. Since we do have 2 flying types, it's nice to be able to use the Bulldoze for a little bit of speed control, but also maybe some sash breaking. And lastly, we just have the good Stab Close Combat in case we need to get the Defiant boost, and then Close Combat into pretty much just Incineroar. Close Combat is just to catch Incineroar. But yeah, that's the basic gist of the team. Let's get into some battles. So here we have what looks to be a pretty strange team, as they have like it's just a pretty strange spread of mons. Like they have the Toedscruel, but no way to negate Toedscruel's ability, and they have like Baxcalibur, but they don't have any snow, and they have Armarouge, but they don't really have Trick Room pieces, so I don't really know which direction this team is going. But they decide to lead Toedscruel here and Grimmsnarl, and we lead Lilligant and Dodrio, as they decide to fake out Dodrio, and Dodrio flinches. But we get off the Teeter Dance with Lilligant, so now everything on the field is confused, and the Toedscruel is in fact going to immediately hit itself in the confusion. So does Dodrio, unfortunately, as the Grimmsnarl gets up its Reflect, but they decide to Spore into Dodrio, and they land the Spore into Dodrio, but Lilligant at least gets to get off a Quiver Dance, pretty nicely here, and I decided I want to start Giga Drain chipping into the Toedscruel, and both of the opponent's Pokemon hit themselves in confusion, so seeing as how much that previous Giga Drain did, I wanted to get up another boost here, and Grimmsnarl again hits itself in confusion, and they land the Leech Seed into Dodrio, which Dodrio's Tangled Feet ability is not coming into play yet. Dodrio wakes up, and we at least get a Brave Bird into Armor Rouge, which does activate its weak armor. So I guess that was the strategy that they were going for, and they Spirit Break Lilligant, but we don't get our special attack decreased because of our Cover Cloak, and Armor Rouge gets a little bit of Leech Seed health off of Dodrio here, but now the Armor Rouge decides to go Terra Fire here, but we just Terra Blast into the Armor Rouge in order to take them out, and Dodrio's confusion ends, so it's no longer benefiting from the accuracy, but we get to guaranteed Thrash into the Grimmsnarl, and I thought that they would just protect the Golduck, since I felt like the Grass type move was pretty obvious, so we just Giga Drained into the Grimmsnarl here in order to get rid of it, and Dodrio goes for its Thrash into the Golduck, but Golduck is red card, and it hazes a Lilligant, so Lilligant gets to lose its boost there. But now there's only 2 Pokemon left on the opponent's team, and we use the fact that we are Grass type in order to ignore the Rage Powder from the Toedscruel. So the Giga Drain just gets to clap the Golduck as Oricorio goes for the Teeter Dance, and we don't really need Lilligant to be on the field anymore, so we could just swap it out into another Pokemon. But at this point, because we have Dodrio, who is faster and can click Brave Bird into the Toedscruel, and Oricorio can click Air Slash into it, the game is pretty well over. Here you have a bit of a Sun team, as they have Pokemon like Charizard and Incineroar who can benefit from the Sun to increase their Fire-type damage attacks, but it looks like maybe the only Pokemon that can set it up is the Whimsicott, as they do have the Electrode, who's pretty fast, but I actually don't know if Electrode gets access to any weather moves other than Rain Dance, I don't think. But for this team, we lead Tinkaton and Oricorio, as the opponent leads Whimsicott and the Charizard here. We fake out the Charizard immediately in order to make sure it doesn't get to attack this turn, and we go for the Teeter Dance into both Pokemon, perhaps adding a bit of variance. And every turn that Charizard hits itself in confusion is another turn that it also takes some solar power damage here. But I decided to swap into Ninetales here to hopefully take a Fire-type attack from the Charizard, as I wanted the Whimsicott to maybe Encore into Tinkaton since we had previously used Fake Out, but they instead decided to go for the Tailwind with Whimsicott, telling me that maybe they don't have the Encore, and Heatwave does miss Ninetales, even though I don't think it would do that much at this point. Charizard's confusion ends, so the Teeter Dance doesn't really pan out, but the Oricorio gets brought down to its sash because of the Heat Wave, and they Moonblast into Ninetales, so Ninetales is at least able to take it, and we get to throw the Heat Wave back at them here, and the Air Slash is going to finish off the Charizard, which I don't know if that crit mattered, but I would be pretty safe to say that Charizard's kind of frail, so I don't think that that stab Air Slash into the Charizard mattered. But Incineroar comes in and they get down the Intimidate, and so I protect with Ninetales and Oricorio because I wanted to stall out their turns of Tailwind, but also their turns of Sun, and Whimsicott just went for Moonblast there. Now we swap in Tinkaton, and Whimsicott finally decides to reveal that its last move is Encore, which is just kind of unfortunate for Ninetales. Ninetales does just grab the knockoff though, so it didn't get to move anyways, but now we get to see that Whimsicott had the Encore, and we Terrafire our Lilligant so that it doesn't get KO'd by the Incineroar, as I figured it was probably the most important piece at this point. And Tinkaton is just going to catch the Incineroar's Flare Blitz after taking out the Whimsicott with the Fake Out there. But now we get Oricorio and Lilligant next to each other, and Rillaboom is actually Terra Water, which is better for us than Terra Fire. I went for the Terra Fire, Terra Blast there, trying to take it out. But Incineroar went for the Flare Blitz into Lilligant, which I'm not quite sure why they did that, but Rillaboom also has Protect, meaning that it's not Assault Vest, and we Air Slash Incineroar there, and thankfully we pick up the Flinch, so we didn't get any of the Teeter Dance confusions, but we did get the Air Slash Flinch right here when it matters, so now we are allowed to just Giga Drain out the Rillaboom in order to take all of its health, and Incineroar goes for the knockoff there, which I'm not sure why I didn't do that before when I never went for the Flare Blitz, but now we can just Giga Drain the Incineroar and Air Slash the Incineroar in order to take it out of the game.
Next up, we have Pelipper Rain, but this Pelipper Rain is Kingdra instead of the Basculegion, and they also have the option to just lead the Clefairy and the Blood Moon to immediately exert a lot of pressure into our Mons. So the opponent starts with Pelipper and Archaludon, and we start with Annihilape and the Lilligant here, so Pelipper sets the Rain. I decided to bring in Ninetales, of course, to get rid of that Rain, as Archaludon reveals it has Protect, so it is not an Assault Vest variant, as the Pelipper is just able to get up the Tailwind here. The opponent seemingly decides to sack the Kingdra here, seeming as they maybe didn't have enough speed investment to try and outspeed our Monkey with its Choice Scarf, but either way we trade Final Gambit, and Pelipper actually goes for Soak, and then they bring in the Rillaboom here to perhaps try and hit our Ninetales, so it's setting up the Calm Mind with Ninetales is not putting us in a great position right now, but we bring Lilligant back to the field, and now Grassy Surge is active, and the opponent swaps Archaludon here, but I decide to swap in Dodrio, and it does catch the Grassy Glide here, but Lilligant goes for the Teeter Dance, so now every Pokemon on the field is confused, and the opponent only has one turn of Tailwind left. Archaludon goes for the Protect, and it does get the Protect, as Lilligant gets off the Quiver Dance, and Rillaboom goes for the Swords Dance, but we just use Brave Bird into Rillaboom on that slot, so Dodrio gets to pick up the Rillaboom kill. Now Pelipper returns, but their Tailwind has run out, and Pelipper goes Terra Grass to perhaps try and take the Giga Drain, but Dodrio's Confusion runs out there, so thankfully it doesn't hit itself, and we just get to clap the Pelipper with the Brave Bird, and Archaludon does go for the Electro Shot here, but Lilligant resists it and has the Special Defense boost. But the special defense boost doesn't matter because it crit us, but now Ninetales gets to bring it back in the sun, and at this point we could just Terra Fire our Lilligant and hit it with the Terra Fire, Terra Blast, and also use Ninetales' Scorching Sand or Heat Wave to hit our Caledon, and we would probably have the game wrapped up here. Here we have again another rain team, but this one is Basculegion, and their supports are a lot more threatening in the Amoonguss, Incineroar, and the Mousehold for perhaps the side population bomb into the Archaludon. So we lead Lilligant and Oricorio here as the opponent leads Basculegion and Amoonguss, and they just decide to Aqua Jet into Lilligant for whatever reason, but Lilligant gets off the Quiver Dance, which Oricorio then gets to copy with its Dancer ability, and because Oricorio is so fast, we get to throw a really hard Revelation Dance into Basculegion, as Amoonguss just tries to go for the Pollen Puff into Lilligant, which does do some damage, but now we can just Giga Drain into Pelipper in order to get a lot of our health back, and we can Air Slash, because just in case the Amoonguss went for the redirection on that turn, I wanted to try and deal some decent flying type damage into it. But they go for Clear Smog into Oricorio, which does reset Oricorio's boost, but we're still good with Lilligant here, as now we swap in Ninetales, and Archaludon goes Terra Grass as Amoonguss Rage Powders, but I go for the Teeter Dance here because I wanted the chance for a Pokemon to hit itself in Confusion, and Archaludon does hit itself in Confusion, while Ninetales is okay because of its Lump Berry there, and now we can just Terra Fire into Terra Blasting the Amoonguss, and we can click Heat Wave into the Archaludon, who gets the defense boost, and Archaludon hits itself in Confusion again, which that defense boost actually saved itself from knocking it out. It is kind of what it looks like. And lastly, we have a battle against a Snow team here, where they also have the ability to go for Furgraf Trick Room with Blood Moon or Saluna, and then have like King Gambit Sweep with maybe Swords Dance while under the Aurora Veil from the Ninetales. So the opponent leads Incineroar and Glaceon, which is great for us because we led Annihilape and the Lilligant here, so Annihilape gets that defense, or the attack proc rather, and they decide to fake out Lilligant, but Lilligant is Covert Cloak, and we just get to close combat down all of Incineroar's health, and we went Terra Fire just in case they swapped in their Ninetales on that turn in order to click Blizzard with the Glaceon, but we get off the Quiver Dance with Lilligant because we are guaranteed faster than the Glaceon unless it's like a Choice Scarf, and the Glaceon goes for Calm Mind, which is kind of a weird play to me because I feel like we could have just used a fighting type move into the Glaceon there, but I mean, I digress. Ninetales gets to come in here in order to set up the snow, and I wanted to immediately get rid of their snow, so we bring in our Ninetales as they Terra Water, but we unfortunately Bright Powder miss the Glaceon there with our close combat, which I feel like would have immediately ended the game because it would have forced the opponent to bring in their last Pokemon, and we would maintain the weather control. But now Ninetales Terra Water Blast into what was previously our Fire type, and they get off a Blizzard, which thankfully does not KO the Annihilape there. and the opponent retreats their Ninetales because they want to take the weather back, and we try close combating into Glaceon, but we don't get it, but we do get some nice Heat Wave damage onto the Ursaluna, at least that comes in. So I switch out Ninetales, and they switch in their Ninetales, but we call this play correctly here, I believe. No, actually, the Ursaluna protects, and it doesn't really matter. But they swap in Glaceon here, and we close combat the Ursaluna to try and just get some confirmed damage into it, as the Lilligant goes for the Quiver Dance again here, and now they're forced to leave their Ninetales on the field, which means we can bring in our Ninetales and win the Weather War, and we can Giga Drain their Ninetales in order for Lilligant to get all of its health back. And at this point, Glaceon needs a lot of lucky Bright Powder misses in order to win this game, but it misses the first one immediately, so Lilligant just gets to take it out with the Terra Fire, Terra Blast. So yeah, that was the Tangled Feet Dodrio team, and kind of as we saw, I don't think Dodrio actually got a single evasion because of its Tangled Feet or its Bright Powder from what it went, but like if you can get the Dodrio evasion on like a very crucial turn that your opponent is trying to send a big attack into Dodrio, then you're just kind of good to go, and Dodrio can get off hopefully a second big attack, whether that's the Thrash or the Brave Bird or the Stomping Tantrum. But thank you guys so much for watching. If you liked it, maybe consider leaving a like on the video, and even consider subscribing, because both of those things would help me out an absolute ton, and I will see you in the next one. Thank you.